Are you ready?
I was born ready.
Yo, everybody, welcome to episode 2 of the Stock Guy and AL3X Show, a brand new podcast that covers topics around the world: business, news, markets, money, sports. If people are talking about it, so are we. The Stock Guy and AL3X Show can be watched, listened, and viewed on YouTube. It can also be downloaded and listened to wherever podcasts are downloaded. Follow the show on Twitter, Insta, LinkedIn, TikTok, and all the major socials for clips, moments, and information about new episodes. Also, guys, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, do all the things so that way we can always be hanging with you whenever we have new episodes coming out. All right, my man, you ready to do this?
I was born ready.
Let's do it. Guys, everybody, welcome. Stocky's looking good today, man. Stocky has been, Stocky's coming off 3 hours of sleep, and we've been hanging for the past 2 hours getting ready to hit the record button. And I'm telling you, this guy's come alive. Look at you, man. You've come alive. You've come alive in 2 hours. You were dead 2 hours ago, man.
Listen, I have a new mic. It's a new me. It's a new day, a new mic, a new me.
Stocky talks about the difference between TSG being live and then TSG in a VOD recorded instance, kind of like this, and like he gets to be maybe a little bit more chill. But bro, the spicy levels of our conversation over the past 2 hours. I'm concerned that the tangents, guys, we have a show here. We have a bunch of different like topics that we want to talk about.
We're gonna get to everything.
Be prepared for Stocky to go off on like 3 or 4 minute tangents about all of the packs of cigarettes he used to smoke, in 2009, about when he was 21 years old. Get ready for that.
Oh, okay. And then we're gonna have to get ready about how you believe that your romance life is just gonna continue to be amazing throughout the rest of your marriage.
We go from cigarettes to romance. That doesn't seem like an equal stretch there, but
I'm just saying we both have a lot of copium right now.
This is what I'm talking about. The spicy levels of Stocky today, guys. The first thing up that we want to talk about today.
No. Before we do that, I have an idea I want to pass by you.
Go for it.
Okay, you know how we're brand new to the podcast, right? We're out there. We're trying to get our names out there.
Episode 2,
right?
Brand new.
Episode 2. I have this crazy idea. What if we get everyone to pay money to push us up on the Spotify list?
Oh, so you think that Spotify should, not even consider an algorithm that recommends and promotes discoverability? You think they should strip their platform away from that model and just go for subscriber or viewer-based discoverability? That's what you're suggesting.
I'm saying what they should do, but I'm saying that, the idea, think about the business model for Spotify. Convince your smaller, newer podcasters that the only way that new people are going to listen to them is to get the people who currently listen to them to pay Spotify to push them up in discoverability.
Let's bypass an algorithm. Let's bypass any sort of platform level development, and let's just have the viewers do it. Twitch is testing a feature that lets viewers pay to promote streamers. Is that, Stocky, is that kind of what you were getting at, maybe? Is that what you were talking about a little bit?
I heard that Twitch might be doing that, but that it's news to me. I was just thinking this out loud, but that's kind of a coincidence. But now that you brought that up, I think we should explore that. So let's all started with, we've always known that Twitch has never been a place for creators to be discovered, right? It used to be, you went to a category, it went from highest viewers to lowest. It was hard to find new streamers unless they got lucky or they were part of a big game or they had a collab. Then they changed it up. They started recommending. Then they came out with, hey, use channel points to get together to boost your streamer to discoverability. And according to what you just said, I just saw the article for the first time just now that appears that Twitch is going to be doing a pay to win, pay to play. Yeah. What do you think as a streamer? What do you think about this? I mean, you're a very small streamer, so I'd like to hear your opinion on this.
So The Verge published this article yesterday. It says, by the way, you have a little smirk on your face, don't you? I'm gonna look over. Look at you. Look, guys, Stocky thinks he's gonna be so spicy.
No, I think that you're the perfect person. As somebody who's the sub 100 viewer Andy on Twitch, I just think that your opinion on this is very, very important.
He said something about my viewership the other day, or the other moment. This was probably about 30 minutes ago, and I ignored it completely. However, he detected maybe a hesitation in my voice, and he thought he was so clever. He thought this guy thought he won the morning.
I'm actually, we only have 60 minutes. You were talking about tangents. Let's go.
The
What do you, as a small streamer, what do you think?
Listen, the program lets viewers pay cash to put streamers on Twitch's front page. This article was posted by The Verge. It says days after announcing new safety tools designed to protect streamers against hate raids, Twitch is experimenting with a new feature that will allow users to pay money to promote a stream. Rumors have been circulating on social media that the new feature is in the works, and a Twitch spokesperson has now confirmed to The Verge that it is testing the feature with a small number of streamers. The whole thing about Twitch and if you take grab any sort of insider sentiment across creators across the entire platform, generally what you hear is that discoverability is really low on Twitch versus a platform like YouTube or even like Facebook Gaming, and you would think that the solve for that would be sort of an overhauled UI, kind of even an overhauled UX where it promotes discoverability, an algorithm that's serving content to users both new and old, saying, hey, we know you love these creators. You can always find them in your following tab. But hey, also, when you open up the app, here's a list of streamers that you haven't seen yet, regardless of size. Here's a list of streamers that you haven't seen yet that you may love. For me, that's at least how
it's not gonna work though. Unless because they don't have an algorithm for discoverability in the first place. Imagine paying to get your streamer promoted who plays Apex, and it just randomizes who it recommends to, and you've got somebody out there who's only got 15 minutes at midnight, and they're looking for a hot tub streamer, and they open it up and it's an Apex player. They're not going to click on it. So without a user interface, it wouldn't work. But let me ask you something. You're a gamer, not a good one, but you're a gamer. So let me ask you this question: does this remind you of loot boxes, microtransactions?
This reminds not
pay to win.
No, it doesn't remind me of loot boxes, microtransactions. This to me just feels like it is a Band-Aid. This just feels like a Band-Aid that also they want to promote because it's further monetization.
But it feels like a pay to win. Like if you want to get ahead in the game, and you want to bypass the grind and the hours and like that, you could always pay to have something unlocked or a level up or something to help you get ahead in the game. And this is kind of something similar. It's like, okay, you're not able to, it's a long grind. Everyone knows that Twitch and streaming and getting all that brand awareness, everything out there, it's a long grind. But you or your audience can pay to kind of give you that little edge. So I feel like this is almost like loot boxing or microtransactions in a game of where it's kind of like a pay to get ahead.
It just feels so strategically the opposite of how a platform should be viewing sort of new audience conversion. To me, Twitch should be viewing themselves as a platform where they want to serve you content that you're coming to the platform to look to watch in microseconds. They should be like, hey, if you open up our app on mobile, or if you open up Twitch.tv on desktop, it should be Twitch's responsibility. They should view it this way. It's their responsibility to serve you the content that you're looking for in microseconds. That's how I view it. And most people, when they show up on Twitch, have a following list that they reference. Some people, love the front page, and some people will start browsing and looking for new creators. But most people are just going to their following list. And some days there might be streamers out there or content out there that's great for you, and you just have no idea because it's not being served to you.
You know what? In my opinion, this boils all the way back down to what I've talked about on my stream before, and that's. It's an ad revenue problem, right? So YouTube doesn't have to worry about this because they don't care about you watching and following and subscribing to certain people. They just want you watching, because no matter what you're watching, as long as you're watching, you're getting served ads. Twitch, because their ad, they don't have the algorithms, they don't have the ad contracts, they don't have that. They need people to follow people, subscribe to people, pay bits, and incentivize outside purchases, right? So that's what this is. Because remember, according to what we're reading here, they're only the money's not going to the creator. So these users, their audience, are paying Twitch 100% to boost their favorite streamer. So it's not even a revenue share, and that's what it is. It's a cash grab, in my opinion. Like, it's not about getting people watching. It doesn't matter who you're watching, because if it was, they don't care if you're watching a guy with 70,000 live viewers or 7, because everybody's getting served ads, right? They're not getting their money from that. They're getting their money from these transactions. So I think this is a cash grab, and I think I think it's only good for Twitch. It's not going to help creators. I think that the ROI here is going to be ridiculously bad, and I think it's gonna end in flames after a while.
Yeah, I mean, that may be the case. To me, it just seems like a Band-Aid that has a monetization, which is short-term, a monetization component, which is short-term thinking. I just don't like if there's anything that YouTube, you were talking about this before we recorded, like Twitch is starting to experience immense levels of competition in the market. Before, maybe 6-7 years ago, they were the kind of the solo player in the live streamed gaming content market, and
they're still number one. I mean, we already saw. Listen, Mixer failed. All right, Mixer failing was the best thing that ever happened to Twitch, because Twitch can now say, look, yeah, go ahead, try being a competition. If Microsoft couldn't do it, you're not gonna be able to do it either. And our viewership's only going up, and everyone else is coming back down. YouTube is the only one out there right now that actually has real competition. Sure, Facebook Gaming is getting a bit more traffic now that they have Mixer's, old UI and user base, but right now Twitch knows that they have it, so they're trying to capitalize on it. The problem is that they could end up screwing themselves and shooting themselves in the foot if they go too hard.
But I mean, Twitch, it's taken Twitch, all of 15 years to build a community and build a daily base of traffic. And that's the thing that Mixer didn't have. And I don't want to get into the tangent on Mixer. Mixer was trying to do the exact same thing from a model standpoint that Twitch was. YouTube and Facebook Gaming, they already have the audience. Everyone's open. Facebook and YouTube are the two places on the internet where everyone's spending most of their time. And by Facebook, I mean like kind of the Facebook ecosystem, Insta and Facebook together, as well as, the Facebook platform is still massive, even though there's a lot of people that have moved off of it. It's still a massive platform. And YouTube itself is huge, man. People are spending more time on YouTube and Facebook like now than they ever have. And that's the thing Mixer didn't have, is that base of traffic. YouTube and Facebook,
they had the Microsoft live community. In my opinion, the reason Twitch is more successful is because the difference between watching videos and VODs and movies and live streaming is the community, right? It's about the real-time reactions, the real-time camaraderie, the inside jokes, the things that happen live, the things that aren't edited out. And because of that, Twitch, because of the way it's set up with the different emotes and the different way of the culture, and they've already built that culture, that grassroots, because they did start smaller, so there's more of a feeling of community, and that's why it's so successful. YouTube is so big and so out there, and it's just not historically designed for that. And so I think until that culture somehow develops itself on YouTube, Twitch will continue to be the live streaming king.
So Twitch went into according to The Verge, Twitch went into detail about the new paid boost feature during its patch notes program. Check out the relevant portion. They say check it out here. And then it says the promotion works like this. For 10 minutes during a stream, a notification will pop up informing viewers that the boost option is available. Participating viewers can then pay for a number of recommendations. In the demonstration, there are two purchase tiers: 1,000 recommendations for 99 cents and 3,000 recommendations for $2.97. These boost purchase windows occur randomly for participating streamers and can happen as often as every time a streamer goes live. Didn't they? I feel like they already did something like this, but they were doing it with channel points, weren't they?
Yeah, that's what they were doing. They were doing it with channel points. The problem is that, number one, there are more streamers than ever. It's starting to come back with COVID ending. But if you've got 1 million streamers live and every one of them have, whether they pay for it themselves or their viewers pay for that. Let's just theoretically, let's average it out to say every one of them pay for 1,000 impressions, right? So that's 1,000 million, right? That's 1 billion impressions and recommendations at the same time. You don't have 1 billion people watching. So who is that falling on?
Jacob Rosock, Twitch product manager, said this new paid program was born out of feedback from the community. He said streamers wanted more opportunities to have their stream promoted and wanted that promotion to be more impactful. That meaningfulness then seems to be Twitch simply giving impact a monetary value. The more money spent on recommendations, the more front page exposure a streamer gets, the more impact a boosted stream has for its creator. So he says here, he said streamers wanted more opportunities to have their stream promoted and wanted that promotion to be more impactful. So he's keying on discoverability. He's basically saying creators and streamers on their platform have been saying forever, we want better discoverability. I think we all know that. But there's also the problem and this is going to sound like me being an asshole and some pretentious prick, but let me be honest with you. A lot of the times, the people that are making the biggest noise are people that just have shit content. And the reason I'm going to say that is it's hard to get discovered. But if you have good content, if you're putting good content out there,
people will eventually find you and they stick around if you're good. And as that happens day after day, you get a couple more here, and you start moving up organically. And that is how you build that base. And that's what launches you. Sure, every now and then you get a big collab or a raid or something like that. But you can be pushed to the front page a million times. But if your content is shit, it doesn't matter. So there is an aspect of discoverability, but a lot of it is people that just aren't honest with themselves, that they don't provide the best content. So, who is this really going to help?
Ultimately, it needs to help the viewer. Because at the end of the day, obviously the creators are bringing to the platform what the viewers want, but everybody needs to be thinking through the lens of the viewer. Everybody, Twitch, the creator, and the advertisers that are coming into the platform. Like, everybody needs to be thinking about what's best for the viewer, because ultimately they're the ones bringing the value to the platform. The average time spent, the average minutes per viewer per session, you want to drive that number up. If you're looking at the algebra for the business side of Twitch, you want to drive that number up, and it needs to be good for the viewer.
Alex, the real way to make money is to just be a president at the Federal Reserve and invest in Amazon right before that they're about to make a shitload of money. That's how you make money with Amazon. You don't become a Twitch streamer. You become president of a Federal Reserve bank, and right before you're in charge of putting hundreds of trillions or billions of dollars into the market, investing in those companies.
Just
like
make
Amazon.
sure that nobody finds out. Don't let anybody know, because if people find out, then you're gonna start seeing resignations. From any of these presidents. Guys, Kaplan steps down as Dallas Fed chief hours after Rosengren is Stocky. Can you talk about this? I don't know about it as much as you do. I'm versed on it a little, but obviously you know more about this topic than I.
So the whole idea is insider trading, right? So just to give you a little TLDR, right before COVID, we had a bunch of Congress people go into a meeting about COVID, finding out that it's like legit gonna be hitting the United States and it's gonna have horrible impacts on the economy. And before it was announced to the world, they sold all their stocks, right? And nobody knew about it until then the market crashed. They saved out on all this loss. It came to light. Everybody was like, rubble, 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 rubble. Nothing changed, right? Then there's this big news about Nancy Pelosi's husband and how before Nancy Pelosi went on did these bills for different companies to help them out and antitrust and whatnot. Her husband took hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars in things, and then all of a sudden those stocks went up and made more millions. Then everybody's like, well, technically it's legal, and these guys are using inside information. Well, that's all great and that's all bad and everybody forgets about it. But what's worse than having inside information? Having the control of everything and still making money off of it. And that is what we're seeing now. Now, the only two, usually there's a fall guy. It appears that Kaplan and the other guy are the two that are taking a fall for. But basically, TLDR with this part as well is that the Federal Reserve is in charge of monetary policy. They're basically in charge of how much money is in the world, how much it costs to borrow money, how money flows, inflation, the whole nine yards. They're in charge of that. And they've always been allowed to own funds and own stocks, but not actively trade them, especially with banks and other things that they have direct control over, because they're in charge of the banks, right? So they're not supposed to be able to invest in banks. Mm-hmm. But they've always been like, okay, you can invest in funds or total market funds and hold things for a long period of times, but not actively trade. It turns out that Kaplan had $27 million worth of stocks that he was buying, selling, trading, and moving around as he was one of the people on the board deciding where our entire economic system and stock market was going to go. So not only did he have insider knowledge, he was the market and made millions off of it.
And for anyone that doesn't know, the Fed is essentially just pulling like a primary lever, and that's with interest rates. And it's been moving like crazy. I mean, they had to move the interest rates to zero, during the whole COVID, during the pandemic experience. So they were incentivizing activity in the market. And that's effectively where when all of this, all of these active trades were taking place, as far as I'm concerned. What's the time horizon here? How long what do we know? What was disclosed?
So far, there's still stuff going on. He's going to step down before they do a full investigation, but he was investing in tech companies, airlines, the whole nine yards as we started seeing the money come out. So basically, these guys were in charge of how much money was going to get printed, who was going to get it, how much money the government could have in order to, prop up the economy. And we saw the market have the greatest single year run in history, 100%. The S&P went from May to May, right? Insane. It's never been done before.
It was all 0% interest rates.
Yeah, and they're in charge of those rates and whatnot, and he was actively trading stocks. He wasn't buying and holding. He wasn't buying the dips. He was buying and selling before these meetings took place that were in charge of basically the world's money supply.
So 2 regional Federal Reserve presidents are retiring following embarrassing revelations of stock trading last year, removing a couple of the central bank's more hawkish officials. Hawkish, what does this word mean? As it calibrates withdrawing pandemic policy aid. Boston Fed Chief Eric Rosengren and Dallas's Robert Kaplan on Monday separately announced plans to step down. Rosengren will depart later this week and Kaplan on October 8th. What does hawkish mean? What are they talking about?
So hawkish and dovish. So basically, hawkish is more aggressive. Dovish is more, sit back and wait. Think of it like, dovish is like, the vanilla, let's do missionary, and the hawkish is I like to have my hair pulled and get choked. Okay, think of it that way. So in this case, hawkish would be like we need to stop. We need to start tapering. We need to stop. We need to pull back on the amount of assets we're purchasing to give the government IOUs, and we need to raise interest rates. And dovish is, hey, we'll keep rates zero. We'll continue to do asset purchases until everything comes together and employment's back and the economy is saved. So that's kind of where the difference is. So hawkish is more aggressive and getting away from it, and dovish is more like let's just let everything work out and we'll kind of wait to see. And we're seeing this with tapering, right? The tapering of the $120 billion in assets. I think we touched on this last week, but that just basically means $80 billion a month in treasuries and $40 billion a month in mortgage-backed securities. The Fed is taking from the government in exchange for more money, more capital to flow in, right? At 0% interest. So that's just basically an IOU. And then the idea is that if they continue to do that and we continue to print money and all that, inflation is going to keep coming up. By the way, did you see the inflation report yesterday?
I didn't. What was up?
It was supposed to be pulled back a little bit, and it went from 4.3 to 4.4. So now we are sustained, and we are at the highest inflation level we have since George H.W. Bush was president.
He said, unfortunately, the recent focus on my financial disclosure risks becoming a distraction to the Federal Reserve's execution of that vital work. Kaplan said in a statement emailed by the Dallas Fed, for that reason, I have decided to retire. That statement feels like it was so, like every word is so intentionally placed. Like he says, unfortunately, the recent focus on my financial disclosure, I got caught. He's not saying, oh, my trading activity or my personal financial activity. He's saying the focus on my financial activity and people's awareness of it. Control. Well, yeah, but I mean, think about where he doesn't put any of the onus on himself here. He says, he's
not going to. This is not going to get media attention. Okay, you're ready for tinfoil hat? We haven't done tinfoil hat yet.
I was just about to say, hold on, let me get through this, and then I was going to say, put your tinfoil hat on because I need your hat and I need it big. So he says, the recent focus on my financial disclosure risks becoming a distraction to the Federal Reserve's execution of that vital work. That is so well crafted. It is so succinct, and it's essentially saying because all you guys care so much, we can't do our job if I'm here. So I'm going to step down, but I'm not going to step down because I was wrong. I'm going to step down because you care so damn much is what he's saying. Put your tinfoil hat on because I know you got one. Put your tinfoil hat on. What the hell actually do people care about? What's the conspiracy? What's the dark layer of conspiracy underneath all this?
This one could be a whole podcast in itself, but do you want me to go into how the Federal Reserve came into like the dark secret history of the Federal Reserve and why we're here, or just this part?
I want you to talk about what's most interesting for the people listening right now, and I think that's the deepest, darkest, the seediest conspiracy.
Okay. I'm going to do this as quick as possible because I know that it could take me all day. So, just to give you an idea, the Federal Reserve is not federal at all. It is as federal as the Federal Express. It is federal in name only. It has no government oversight. It is a central bank that controls the money. They control all the other banks and everybody's money, including governments and everything, right? They are in control of the world's money supply. Now, how did the Federal Reserve come into act? Stocky, how the hell is our money controlled by something that the government doesn't have any oversight on? Well, in 1913, there was a little island that's still there in Georgia called Jekyll Island. And all of the biggest, richest people in the world, including J.P. Morgan. Everybody knows who that is. Mr. Vanderbilt. All of those guys with all the money took a secret train ride with new secret, servants and workers to Jekyll Island. They all used code names. They didn't even use their real names while they were there. And they decided that they wanted to, have the control over our money, right? They wanted to have the control over it. And so what they basically did, TLDR, is that they got together and drafted the Federal Reserve Act, right? Because at the time we were based on the gold standard. And they went to Woodrow Wilson and said, listen, we will fund your campaign to become president if you sign this bill, right? If you get this pushed through. And so election happened, Woodrow Wilson became president. One of the first things he did was get that amendment passed, and that was the Federal Reserve Act, okay? The 13th Amendment. So what do we have happening there? The Federal Reserve became into place. Now, what happened? We got off the gold standard, which we continue to get off of. Kennedy started trying to get us back into the gold standard, and then he was killed. Not saying that's the reason why, but that happened. Nixon was the final straw. So that allowed all of this to happen. Now, I could do a whole podcast on this whole history, but I'm not going to. Let's forward it to today, right? Now, forward it to today. This happened. This has always happened. This has always been happening. But the difference is we have social media now. Now, obviously, love him, hate him, think he's good, bad, whatever. Ron Paul was the first person to bring the Federal Reserve to the average person's, to their palate here, as it were. And that's he was the whole audit the Fed. How much money do they have? Where does this money come from? How much are they, whatever. It never happened. They did a partial audit just to shut him up, but it brought a lot of it to the forefront. Well, now with social media and outcries and whatnot, this is continuing to happen, and people are more informed now. So what's going on here is that the Federal Reserve, they got caught doing this, and it's all over social media, and they just don't want anybody knowing they exist. They don't want people knowing they exist, because the more scrutiny they have, the more outcry, the more protest, the more pressure to shine light on what they do. So what they're basically doing is they're saying, hey, Kaplan, and I guarantee there's some backdoor deal for Kaplan to get a couple $100 million in zeros in his bank account to just go away. Like, hey, dude, listen, take the fall. We know everyone's doing it, but you and this other guy, take the fall. We'll take care of you. Go to your, multi-million-dollar mansion in whichever state that you want and just disappear. And that'll make everybody go away. And then the media isn't going to talk about it. Why? Well, let's be honest. The media is owned by 6 corporations who are all funded by the same people that are in charge of all this. So they're not going to talk about it. It's not something that they want to talk about. Here, we got caught. Somebody needs to take a fall. That way, if it does come up to light or it does get a secondary round, we can show that we did something about it and move on, and everybody's forgot about it. And guess what? They already have.
It's just a cycle of the people with the money and the power being able to control, because they have the money and the power, to get more money and power. And it's just a cycle that never ends. And that's kind of like the base of the conspiracy. I mean, that's kind of like the broad stroke of it. But man, this, like, how crazy does this meeting at Jekyll Island sound, right? I mean, this sounds like, you're talking about monetary policy that's going to shape the future of the country, that it doesn't even occur in the
world, not the country, the world.
Right. For our globe, effectively. And it doesn't even occur at our nation's capital. It doesn't even occur. It occurs just with a bunch of rich people that are just going and hiding away. That is like gotta be, that has got to be one of like the most like darkest and seediest, like it's not.
Do you want me to blow your mind?
It's not even a conspiracy that happened. Like, and it's,
yeah, but do you want me to blow your mind?
Yeah, do it.
Every single U.S. president that was assassinated had one thing in common.
They were trying to undo the Federal Reserve.
They went after the central bank.
The
only one that was successful that did it and didn't die but had an assassination attempt on him twice was Andrew Jackson. Now, Andrew Jackson was a piece of shit for a lot of reasons, but he said his greatest accomplishment was that he killed the bank.
Yeah, and that was also so long ago. Now you're now dealing with a 20th century version of the U.S.
Garfield.
What's that?
Garfield went after it. Lincoln was after it. McKinley went after it. Roosevelt went after it. They tried to kill him. You had Kennedy was the last one to try to go after it to bring back the gold standard and everything like that. Now, could be a complete coincidence, but that's kind of crazy.
So I think the like counter to this though, and obviously everyone's gonna have their own socioeconomic opinion, but generally speaking, you evaluate a country's economic well-being by the strength of the middle class and the quality of life of the middle class. That's just a general, if you want to take a measure of how's this country doing, you look at the middle class. The 20th century was probably was definitively like the most robust and the strongest super economy the world has ever seen. Like the growth.
The United States in the 20th century.
The U.S. Exactly. That's what I mean.
I was going to say, because we could go look at the communist regimes of Russia and Stalin, or Mao Zedong in China, or Pol Pot. We could dig it. You're talking about America.
I'm talking about the U.S. I mean,
also did, but let's be honest. No conspiracy here. We created we made ourselves that way. Whether you like it or not. Okay, God, this is another conspiracy we could go into another time. False flag attacks and wars. But forget about that. Forget about the fact of false flag attacks and wars, right? Let's talk about why America went from a emerging superpower to the superpower, okay? The real fact is what is the one way to get out of a depression or a recession? What's the quickest way?
Buyouts.
War.
Okay, tell me more.
Okay. World War II. We're coming off the Great Depression. We had the Green New Deal, or the New Deal coming. All this stuff was that's not what got us so powerful. What got us so powerful is we got into the war, right? And then we ended up transitioning all of our manufacturing, all of our production, all of that into war machines, right? So we got everybody to work. Employment went up. We got all the factories going. And now all of a sudden, because we're not getting bombed, right? Everybody in Europe and in Asia is getting fight. There's wars, there's bombing, there's destruction, there's infrastructure stuff. That's not happening here. Only two places in America got attacked during World War II. There was Pearl Harbor, and one that people don't know about is the Aleutian Islands in Alaska. But that's a fun fact, a fun little story I'll tell you about another time. But we had nobody here because we were on the other side of the world. So we didn't have any interruptions in our productions and manufacturing. So we just started pumping out stuff, right? And we started sending it over to the war. And not only did that set us up for future, but here's what happened. We set that all up, helped, win the war. Now it's all destroyed over there. Well, guess what? Those people need to rebuild, but they don't have a way of developing their own stuff to rebuild because everything's been destroyed. So what happens? America has now, because of the war, developed all of these supply chains and all of this manufacturing, all of this, and now they're pumping out, materials to rebuild, and cars and tanks and stuff like that. And that led to us growing and becoming the largest middle-class superpower in the world. And everybody was working. Everybody had jobs because the world needed the United States to provide everything because we were the only ones that weren't destroyed, and we had set ourselves up for that success. That's why the 50s and 60s were so fucking good. But the problem is that led to a huge bubble, which then the 70s and 80s came, and it came crashing back down because it wasn't sustainable as the rest of the world kind of caught back up. And then we had the Cold War, and it could lead into other things. So there's
also the element of when everybody came back from war, there was this new GI Bill that allowed people to invest in housing for themselves. And we moved from a savings-based economy to a debt-based economy. And then the emerging housing market and all the new homes that were built. I mean, everyone sees it in their town. You got all those 50s and 60s homes that you drive by. There were so many. That's what enabled, on the consumer level, that moving from savings to debt-based. That's what enabled the economy here locally.
But in the 50s, it wasn't even debt-based because back then, cars were more expensive than houses back then. In the 50s and 60s, a car was $2,000, a house was $8,000. You know what I mean? Or a car was $3,000, a house was $8,000, or whatever. It was actually more affordable to buy a house than a car at the time.
Do you have your hat on the conspiracy? We need to get you an actual tinfoil. We both need tinfoil hats. Can we pencil that? I'm going to pencil that in. We need that for next time. Ryan, if you're listening, we need to make sure we have those for next time. Ryan's the editor for all of this, guys, by the way. Stolen_GG. If you see him in the chats, tell him that he does a great job. You still have your hat on. Anything, speaking of housing, anything house related, conspiracy related that you might want to
I don't know. I mean, I think there was a TikTok video or something about some guy. Video, yeah, that's right.
I kind of want to just play the TikTok video. I don't think you'll be able to hear it if I play it. It's 2 minutes long. But I'm just gonna play it. You down with that?
You want to play it?
Yeah, I'm just gonna play the video. I feel like it'll be helpful for people with some context here.
All right, go for it.
Guys, a few days ago, or a few weeks ago, a TikToker by the name of, what's his name? Do you have his name down? It says it right here. Sean Gocher, okay? At Sean Gocher on TikTok. He had a video that absolutely blew up. Let me I'm going to juice the audio on this. And then if you want to listen to it like locally on your end, so that way you know how we track. But I'm going to play it so that way everyone can hear this. It's actually, this is pretty damn interesting.
I've been a real estate agent for about 11 years now. And let's talk about the housing crisis. And let's talk about some what ifs. What if there was a company that everybody knew of to look for houses? And everybody goes on there and searches for houses when they're bored and stuff. And so that company, they just sit back and they just collect all the data. They just know what zip code is looking at what zip code and how much those people can afford. Everyone's looking at this one zip code. Everybody seems to be able to afford this certain amount. And let's say that billion-dollar company uses that information to go into that zip code and start purchasing houses. Because the people that are selling their houses, even though they sell it for a little bit less sometimes than what the home could actually be worth, and they pay these high fees to this billion-dollar company, it's a convenience factor. So this company's scooping up houses less than what they actually could cost.
I love when he does that. He snaps
and let's say that company, excuse me, Canoe, that company buys 30 homes within a 2-mile radius. And let's say the price is $300,000. So they buy all of these homes for $300,000. And then on the 31st home, they buy it for $340,000. Even though they know all of the comps. Because most people have to get a loan. And if you get a loan, you have to get an appraisal, which means the appraiser is going to look at what homes have sold in the area for that size and that price per square foot.
I'll pause the video. Oh my God.
No, I just want to be ready. I just want to be ready.
That's the best. So he's talking about he's smack dab in the middle right now. I love when he snaps his dog, Canoe or whatever. It's the best. This guy just snaps at his dog. Look at your hat, bro. It's beautiful.
So
keep going.
For anybody that's listening on Spotify or on any of the podcasts or any of the audio platforms, Stocky just went and got himself an actual tinfoil hat. He looks beautiful. Guys, make sure you follow the podcast on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. All of the video pieces, all the segments get reshared on every single one of the platforms, Twitter, whatever. So follow the podcast TSGA Show at TSGA Show everywhere, so you can even see Stocky if you don't want to just go watch the video.
We got to get into it.
Full YouTube.
They're paying cash. They don't need an appraisal. Why would they pay $340,000 for this 31st home whenever they've only paid $300,000 for these others? Well, what that just did is create a new comp. So when they go to sell these other 30 homes, that extra $40,000 that you could say this one sold for $340,000 just made them $1.2 million off that one neighborhood, because they know from their research how much people can afford in that zip code. Weird. And let's say that then they're going to come in. They bought that home at $340,000 that still needs work. So they're going to come in and do the good old paint, spackle, and change the carpet and call it a remodel. So now we can sell them for $360,000. Because we know off of our data that's how much people can't afford. Wouldn't that be weird if a company did that? And then say that this company also starts letting you use their own lenders and their own title and escrow company and makes you write your contract on their.
All right, that's the video. Okay, that's the video on Twitter. That guy, I mean, Sean Gocher, by the way, on TikTok. You guys can watch the full video there, and then he has some follow-on videos. Bro, how much of that is tinfoil hat? How much? What kind of hat does Sean have, or is this like legit?
Okay, so last year on my stream, I started talking about how it's funny because I was talking about Zillow last year about how they were putting cash aside and they were going to be buying up properties, and BlackRock as well. So part of what he's saying has some truth to it, and part of it's a little bit of a stretch. First of all, the part of it that's a little bit stretch is basically that it's not, at least in the current form, it's not cost effective, right? Buying this many houses at the top of a market, unless you're able to flip them quickly, is not sustainable, right? There's usually a pretty small margin on flipping houses as well. On top of that, if they were to do enough of it, there's so many goddamn real estate agents. I mean, if you've ever been to Miami, you could throw a rock and hit a real estate agent. So there's a lot of businesses, a lot of jobs, a lot of people that would lose jobs from that. And the government would step in if they saw that coming at large scales. Now, on a smaller scale, I think that there is some truth to this. But more importantly, I think keep an eye once the eviction and moratorium ends, because what's going to happen is, in my opinion, it's not about buying houses, residential houses, and flipping them and selling them. Sure, they can make profit from that, from cutting out the middleman and making the overage and the sales like that. But that's not the sustainable long-term business model, because once you sell those houses to private individuals, it's gone, right? It's not a sustainable income. But what is the best type of income business model? a subscription-based business model, right? Subscription-based business model. People forget, or people have to keep subscribing. And if it's an item or a product that is in high demand with small supply, you're always going to have people to purchase it, buy it, and have demand and raise the prices. So think about this for a second. How many rental properties, not just homes, but like duplexes, small apartment buildings, mid-sized apartment buildings in a lot of these urban and suburban areas that the owners are not collecting any rent from because of the eviction moratorium, right? And so when the eviction moratorium ends, if they don't get that assistance and the bank comes and repossesses those buildings, who do you think has cash on hand to come in and buy those up?
Tell me.
Zillow, BlackRock, Redfin, they know where people are renting. They have the data. They know all that, and they have it. And so what they do is they get a discount on these properties. Those properties go up in value, and they have a subscription-based model of renting. And they can raise the rent because we're going into a renter's market when a lot of people lose their homes. A lot of people are struggling right now, and a lot of people are going to lose their homes out of COVID, and they're all going to have to rent. So that's the conspiracy side. Is I think that they're going to be focusing on buildings and rental properties, and that's what they're going to do. They're going to pick those up from the banks for discounted prices, turn around and rent them. I did a YouTube video on my channel a while back about people that are renting to lock in their rent and extend their contracts if they're going to before the moratorium ends. And a lot of them did. And the reason that was so important was because I said that their rent was probably going to get raised. And a lot of them are like, holy shit, my rent was going to get raised. Thank God I locked it in.
So article gets posted on Yahoo Finance on September 27th. Zillow responds to viral TikTok video claiming housing market manipulation. The popular real estate website Zillow was criticized on social media after a TikTok video decrying an unnamed real estate company's potentially nefarious business strategies went viral. Again, Las Vegas-based real estate agent Sean Gotcher posted a 2.5-minute video to TikTok earlier this month describing that whole scenario. Let's say that's a quote from him. What's the reply? Obviously, people pointed at Zillow. Redfin CEO Glenn Kelman responded to the Twitter thread and called Gotcher's hypothetical untrue. That all happened on Twitter. It says there's a conspiracy between iBuyers, but it's to pay lower commissions to the brokers representing the buyers of the homes we sell by about 60 basis points so far. This may be one reason some brokers dislike iBuyers. Kelman tweeted in the thread. Zillow says we pay market value. Bro, I mean, is this a non-story? Is this going to be something that blows up? At the very least, it's an interesting as hell little TikTok that Sean put out.
I mean, I think it's great that it brings to light something like this, and I think there is some truth to it. Something I was focusing on last year with these guys buying up, because listen, we just got home price or home build economic data in yesterday, and it shows that home builds went up by 8% after falling last month, and that's because the moratorium got pushed off, right? So people are still buying houses. People are in a mad dash if they can to buy up as many houses as they can at these low interest rates, because it's just money's cheap right now, right? And everybody knows that probably next year rates are going to go up, and that means everything's going to go up. So everyone's in a mad dash to buy homes if they can. And a lot of people made a lot of money in the market this year, right? So a lot of people doubled their money up by going into the market this past year, including the Federal Reserve president. So, it's a mad dash. So housing is going to still be in demand. And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think it's going to come down that much. A lot of people are saying they're going to wait till the moratorium's ending and they're going to get cheaper houses. But you know something? You know, the average price of a home in 2000 was $145,000, and now it's $400,000 in America.
Jesus, man.
And that's including two market crashes.
Jesus, that's nuts. And that's specific. That's most likely one of the reasons why, you ask anybody and they're like, oh, millennials aren't buying homes. For those 10 years, 2010 to 2019, they're like, oh, millennials weren't buying homes. I mean, those prices are insane, bro. 145 to 400, Jesus.
Well, look at the Canadian housing market.
Redfin, that Canadian housing market, man, that's 2 weeks in a row. We're like on the edge of diving in. I mean, next week we probably need to go way deep into Canadian housing. I love that smile you got on your face with it. It's like Stocky will talk for 30 minutes minimum, like on one monologue on the Canadian housing market. Redfin also shared a
For some reason people like when I do it. I don't know. Like, I get passionate and other people are like, fuck yeah. And I'm like, all right, I'll keep going, baby.
Redfin also shared a statement with Yahoo Finance arguing that Gotcher's theory isn't plausible because under the iBuyer program, Redfin, now the company only sold 292 homes in its second quarter. We don't have the share to manipulate the market, nor do we have any desire to. Redfin's statement read. Bro, what if
it's not the market they're manipulating? It's micro markets that the guy's talking about, and they're trying to deflect by saying the macro market. It's bullshit. But
what if you could have the market? What if you could own the market entirely on extinct animals coming back to life? Maybe on some island way out in the Pacific, and you could put on some amusement show. Would you take advantage of that market? Would you own the market? Would you corner the market on extinct animals coming back?
I mean, we talked last week about squid going into space, and you thinking saber-toothed tigers were cool, and I think that's not a good thing.
Bro, would I think saber-toothed tigers are cool?
What? Let me take this off. Hold my earrings. Hold on. All right, so here we go. Let me ask you a question. All right. In what world do you think that bringing back a 15-foot tiger with 7-inch teeth is a good idea?
That was not the question. The question was, do you not think that saber-toothed tigers are cool, man?
I don't think they're cool.
Hold on, I'm going to pull up an image right here. Again, for all the audio listeners, I'm sorry, but I'm pulling this image up. Look how cool this animal looks, man. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
It looks cool because it's not trying to eat you.
Yeah, I ain't trying to go near one of these, man, but there's a lot. You know how many animals on this earth would eat me?
Well, nobody went to Jurassic Park thinking that they were going to get eaten either.
You know how many animals are on this earth right now that would eat me if I was near it, but I do myself the service of staying away from it? There's no less than, I don't know, call it 100,000. That's just a completely arbitrary number. I have no idea if that's right. 100,000 animals would eat me. Maybe it's just
there are things in your house right now that are crawling around that could kill you.
Exactly. They're not killing me. Saber-tooth tiger looks cool. I'd say if it came back, that'd be a pretty cool thing. Just leave it be. Don't interact with it. Just like, listen, if I'm out on a boat.
You think we should bring raptors back?
Listen, if I was like you.
I think raptors are cool. Should we bring those back?
If I was like you and I was living,
And you're not answering my question.
Should we bring raptors back?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think if you brought dinosaurs back, you should just do it. You should follow the key learnings of what went wrong in the Jurassic Park movies. And
well, dinosaurs couldn't survive in today's world.
Why's that?
Some of them could, but most of them wouldn't.
Why's that?
Well, oxygen levels wouldn't allow for a lot of them to get as big as they were. So back then, you had oxygen levels were much higher in the air, which allowed for larger growing capacity for all creatures, and so that's changed. So they wouldn't be nearly as big; they would be small. That's why the ones that have survived haven't gotten as big as they were.
There's this article on NPR.org that says scientists say they could bring back woolly mammoths, but maybe they shouldn't. Updated a few weeks ago, it says using recovered DNA to genetically resurrect an extinct species. The central idea behind the Jurassic Park films may be moving closer to reality with the creation this week of a new company that aims to bring back woolly mammoths thousands of years after the last of the giants disappeared from the Arctic tundra.
Let me dumb this down for everybody. All right, so basically what's going on is they're pulling a real life Jurassic Park. What they're doing is they're taking DNA from some Eastern African elephants, and they're mixing them with the old DNA of woolly mammoths to create a new hybrid woolly mammoth that they want to put into the Arctic, which by the time they do this, there won't be any Arctic left, so it kind of feels like a moot point anyways. But that is what they want to do. Now, the question is not could they, it's should they. And this brings me back to Jeff Goldblum's character of, it's not a question of, like I said, could they, it's should they, and nature finds a way. So, should they? And the question is, and this are you old enough to remember Dolly the sheep?
I don't remember Dolly the sheep.
Oh my God, I feel like a boomer. Okay, so Dolly in the 90s was the first ever cloned mammal. They cloned a sheep, an exact copy of another sheep. They actually cloned a sheep, and they called it Dolly. And this huge conversation came on regarding of, is this going to lead to worse things? Is this ethically okay? Is this whatever? It was a huge, huge thing. So that's basically what this is. It's like, okay, we start here. Now what's next? What else do we bring back? And do we fuck up? Do we get down to a point where we're past the point of no return?
Flush with a $15 million infusion of funding, Harvard University genetics professor George Church, known for his pioneering work in genome sequencing and gene splicing, hopes the company can usher in an era when mammoths walk the Arctic tundra again. He and other researchers also hope that that a revived species can play a role in combating climate change. It says, we are working towards bringing back species who left an ecological void as they went extinct. As colossal activity pursues the conservation and preservation of endangered species, we are identifying species that can be given a new set of tools from their extinct relatives to survive in new environments that desperately need them.
Instead of $15 million on preventing current animals from going extinct, let's bring back ones that are already extinct.
I'm not hearing nothing about a big amusement park that they're planning on opening on an island on Isla Sorna, or maybe even somewhere else. I'm not hearing nothing about that. At that point, does the data suggest that this is better for the environment? If it does, good.
You know they're going to bring one back. It's going to go into the Arctic. Everyone's going to be so happy. And then some asshole guy is going to go fucking kill it and for clout on TikTok. And then we're back to square one.
Listen, if there's a positive environmental thing or component of this, that's great, right?
What kind of positive environmental impact does bringing back $15 million minimum worth to bring back an elephant, a hairy elephant, to put it into an environment that's already melting? Where is this not a waste of money?
Guys, we were calibrating Stocky's audio levels before this, and he was dead tired when we were calibrating it. And he even made the comment, he goes, I need to probably put it lower because I'm going to get really animated. I'm going to get really excited. Woolly Mammoth got him excited up to these new audio levels. By the way, Stocky, congrats on the new mic. Stocky is boasting, but Stocky's got a Shure SM7B mic.
Okay, full disclosure, I have a new mic that I did not pay for.
Yeah, he did not pay for. He BD'd it and got himself a Shure SM7B. He's got all the fix-ups and everything, but he was sending me messages this morning about how he didn't know how to hook it up. So we spent a good amount of time making sure it was all hooked up and good. He's got his little amplifier there. He's got it sounds great, man. You sound great. You're getting really, really amped up and excited about it. All I'm saying is I'm not an environmentalist, okay? I don't know what's good or bad.
I can tell you want to bring back a fucking saber-toothed tiger.
If it's good, listen, my point is that I don't, the side of the argument that's, hey, it's good for the environment. What do I know, okay? I've seen videos on YouTube about how critical wolves are in certain biodomes or whatever, and I believe
they are. I mean, look at Australia. Australia is literally not only is it a penile colony, a penal colony, but it started out that way, but they have been the petri dish of every environmental experiment gone wrong. Thank God they're on an island. You bring one kind of thing in to stop one thing, they explode. Then you bring in something else to stop them, they explode. You kill those environments. We got to a point where the Australian military lost a war to emus.
If they bring back all these animals...
Wait. Do you know about that?
Say it, tell me more.
The Australian military lost a war to flightless birds, and that's not a cap. I'm totally serious.
When did this happen?
1930s?
1930.
Just Google Great Emu War. No, just Great Emu War.
It's called the Great Emu War?
I'll give you the TLDR. Yeah. I'll tell you the TLDR.
Give it the TLDR.
This is amazing. This is one of my favorite stories in history. So, long story short, after World War I, a bunch of people came back to Australia, didn't have jobs. They didn't know what to do with them. So the government said, here's what we're going to do. You go out to Western Australia, take up all this farmland. Just mill the farms, have a good time, right? You know, have jobs, have land. So they all go out there. Well, guess what? Millions of emus, which are flightless birds that are like the redheaded stepchild, offspring of ostriches. That was their migratory path. They used to walk from the Midlands to the coast every year and back. Well, guess what? Now all of a sudden there's a bunch of farmland in the way. So these big just flightless birds are trampling over everybody's farms. And so then they say to the government, hey, you gave us this land, but our crops are getting destroyed because of all these emus. And the government's like, well, what do you want us to do about it? And the farmers were like, hey, we need you to come out and take care of this. So the government's like, oh, crikey. All right. And so they get in their Jeeps and their machine guns and they go out and they go to fight a bunch of flightless, waddling asshole birds. And guess what? They lost. They literally lost. They were if you go to the old Wikipedia page, it actually said belligerents, who was on what side, and the emus won. And the reason they say that is
how many
that these guys,
how many were there?
There were tens of thousands of them. They can't fly, and these guys had machine guns. The Australian military took machine guns, and do you know what? They killed one emu for every 100 bullets they fired. How do you shoot 250,000 rounds of ammunition into a bunch of giant birds that can't fly and you run out of ammo? How does this happen? How do you lose a war to these birds?
Have you ever had anybody ask you the question, what would you rather fight? 20 duck-sized horses or
100 duck-sized horses
or like one horse-sized duck?
Horse-sized duck. It would be the horse-sized, the duck-sized horses all day long. So I could go into this all day long,
and I would. This is the loss, though. This is the strength in numbers. This is the
no. These guys are not the size of a horse. Number one. Number two, ducks have more mobility and more weapons than these guys do. And number three, ducks can fly. And number four, this is machine guns. They're not fighting them. They literally lost a war to flightless birds.
Bringing it back, man.
They had to give up and go back.
I'm going to take it all the way back, and I'm going to tell you right now, if they bring back these woolly mammoths and whatever other extinct animals, and they don't open up one amusement park, I'm going to say we're worse off for it as a globe. I want to go see a woolly mammoth, man. If they bring it back, if there's a positive environmental thing, let's hit it up. But man, I want to.
We've had like 7 movies about this, and all of them ended in disaster, and you're still like, yeah, I'd go.
I still want to go, man. I
want to. Yeah, go play with the saber-toothed tigers.
No, maybe if you have those, I won't go. But the woolly
mammoth. You said they were cool. You want us to bring them back?
They are cool, just like sharks are cool. But I'm not gonna go hang out with a shark. I'm smarter than that. I'm in the middle of the country. I'm as far away from sharks as I can be.
How come nobody says, let's bring back the megalodon?
Guys, there are so many other things we wanted to talk about today. There's stuff going on with the Elizabeth Holmes trial, the Theranos story, which is crazy. Just a broad stroke of NFTs that Saki and I wanted to get into. Children going to school on a party bus. Some other more serious things like supply chain, inflation, LA port logjams. There's other things going on in the world. The Reagan shooter being released, the U.S. Space Force releasing their uniform, which is incredible. Stuff related to whatever. We wanted to even get into Emmy winners and sequels, prequels, remakes, reboots.
And the Gabby thing.
The Gabby Petito deal. But we wanted to talk about Matrix 4. That's an hour, though, man. And we're going to be disciplined. We're going to stick to an hour, and we're going to learn how to be even more succinct than we were today. I don't even think we were succinct. We got Saki all spicy. We brought him from Jason to Stocky in the 2 hours in the lead up. That's what happens when we were trying to set up his freaking microphone. He got too caffeinated, and he just started getting a little excited.
The Twitch conversation ran long.
It did, but it's worth it. It's brand new. You and I both stream on Twitch.
This is why we're gonna have to do this weekly, because there's just too much stuff in 2 weeks.
There is. All right. Anything you want to say on the lead out?
Most overrated show of all time, The Office.
I'm
ending this on controversy. I'm not saying that The Office was bad. I'm just saying that it's the most overrated show of all time.
What is the best show of all time?
I don't think there is a best show of all time.
Band of Brothers. That's the best show of all time on HBO. Then outside, I don't even qualify that as a show. I just qualify that as like the best piece of content of all time. But if I'm gonna actually just
that's the best piece of content of all time.
Maybe not the best piece of content of all time.
You just said that. You that just came out of your mouth. Like I don't care if Stolen edits that or out. You just said that was the best piece of content of all time.
If for like a television show, yes. Best piece of television
even
show
when you
content.
Quantify it into that way, I still feel like maybe it's the best piece that you've watched. I don't think it's the best quality of all time.
Have you seen Band of Brothers?
I have, but
amazing.
I think that there's have you seen that new show Squid Game?
No.
I watched first episode last night. I'm kind of hooked. I kind of having a hard time with the whole dubbing, but I like it. It's the #1 show on Netflix right now.
It's called Squid Game.
Yeah, it's like a. I mean, not to do any spoilers, but based on the description, basically it's like a bunch of broke adults like in debt who have to go play these life or death games for money, and it's a South Korean show, but it's pretty good.
Would you go see Matrix 4?
Would I go see it?
Are they gonna get your money?
How about this? They will not, but you know what will get my money, and I want you to go with me to watch it.
What is it?
The new Top Gun.
Oh, bro, the new Top Gun. The trailer for that thing is I think that's the best trailer for any movie. It's gotten me so excited.
It got so hard, it was crazy.
Guys,
if I need to get warmed up before me and my wife have, mommy daddy time, I don't go watch like, Pornhub. I watch that trailer.
Guys, this was episode 2 of the Stock Guy and Alex Show, a brand new podcast that covers topics around the world. Business, news, markets, money, sports. People are talking about it. So are we. The Stock Guy and Alex Show can be watched, listened, and viewed on YouTube. It can also be downloaded and listened to wherever podcasts are downloaded. Follow our show, guys. Follow this show on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, basically any major social platform, guys. We're posting segments, clips, and moments from this. We're splicing it up, dicing it up in 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 5 minutes. However, we can cut this up and serve it for everybody. We're doing it on all the social platforms. Thank you guys for listening. This is a little bit over an hour. Like I said, we're going to stay disciplined with this thing. One love, guys. Stocky, any last things?
Yeah. I just having a great time doing this. Looking forward to the next few episodes. For those of you guys that are listening, make sure you do follow us. Make sure you like us. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you get that algorithm going so we can get this out to more people. And, I'm glad that you guys are enjoying it. I'm loving hanging out with Alex, especially since we both agree 100% that pineapple does not belong on pizza.
I had a pizza last night that didn't have pineapple. God, it was so good. But you know what I was thinking about? I was thinking about, man, I think this pizza could even be even better if they sliced and diced a pineapple and put it on top. That's just, you dip it in ranch and it's perfect. That's it. One love, guys. So I can give it an awkward stare. Give it an awkward stare. You're full screen right now. Give it an awkward stare. And you think The Office is the most overrated show of all time?
It's everybody in the world thinks that it's the greatest show. Oh my God, it's the best show ever. No, it's not. It's a good show, but it's not the best show. It's The Office is like my stream. It's the same fucking recycled jokes over and over and over again.
The whole show is predicated on awkward stares, which you were just giving to the camera. Guys, one love. We'll see you next week or in 2 weeks. One love, guys. Bye. One love.